Hi guys, Ryan Bailey here bringing you part 1 of episode 23 of the Ball Talk podcast. In this podcast, I was joined by English comedian Nathan Caton. I've been watching Nathan on programmes like Live the Apollo and Mock the Week for years now, and I'm delighted to have got the chance to have him on a podcast. In this first part, we chat about different situations a comedian may encounter throughout their career, amongst other topics. Part 2 will be out within the week, so keep an eye out for that. Subscribe if you're new, like this video, and check out more podcasts like this on my channel. And without further ado, I hope you enjoy part 1. The comedy stuff. When did you first get into comedy?
I first got into comedy. My first actual gig was 14. I did a talent show at the church I go to. Well, I grew up in. Someone dared me to get on stage and do some stand-up. So I wrote like a 5-minute set. I kept it clean, obviously, because it was it was in the church. What up, motherfuckers? Boys going to hell. The 5 minutes of material based on people in the church. And yeah, that was my first gig. Yeah, that's my first little taste. But it was enough because I came off stage, even though I was only 14, I came off stage like, oh, that was good. Because they were all laughing and stuff. I was like, I like the feeling. I like that buzz, man. So I was like, you know what? This is something that I want to do again at some point in my life. But it didn't happen again for like another 5 years. I was 19, did my first year of university. I just wanted something to do during the summer holidays. I thought, I'll just do comedy, man. You know, I got nothing else to do. You know, I didn't have a job at the time because I was in between like university years. So yeah, I thought just give it a go. Go on stage and see what happens. Went on stage, died on my ass. It was awful. It was so bad. But I felt comfortable on stage, so I just carried on going back until I started like getting laughs and eventually gave me money.
Yeah, so confidence was never a problem, was it?
No. Well, at least not what the audience thought. I mean, I might have been nervous, but the audience never saw that because I'm a good actor. I can act. Right. So on the outside, even like now, like 15 years in, like I can on the outside, I look like I know what I'm doing. I'm like, yeah, cool, yeah. But in the inside, I'm like, oh shit, okay, next joke, what's the next joke? Quick.
Yeah.
But yeah, as long as just look confident on the outside, just sell it. It's fine.
And the comedy clubs, there's a guy that he was on the podcast a few weeks ago. Tom O'Mahony's his name. He's an Irish comedian, and he was saying the comedy clubs are like they're the place.
Yeah. You can't. I mean, I'm not knocking like theaters and tour shows and TV and all that stuff. Those things are great. But I mean, me personally, I've done TV stuff, I've done radio stuff, performing in theaters. But the clubs that's your bread and butter. You know what I mean? You don't get those other things without going through the clubs first. You know?
Gotcha.
You got to work your way up, and that. Yeah, it's being in a small, cramped comedy club doesn't sound very good now, given the whole coronavirus. But post coronavirus and before coronavirus, yeah, small, cramped comedy club, everyone packed together. You know, low ceiling stuff, and just that raw. That when a joke hits, that reaction that you get from a crowd, it's just man, like that live is it's something to behold, man.
Yeah. So what about then, like when you be recording for TV and stuff? Would it still be just live and they'll edit around it, or is there any parts where they'll just stop? I'd say like maybe panel shows, say, if you do stuff like that.
It kind of changes. Like I mean, like some like Mock the Week, for example, like there's an audience there. But with like TV stuff, they can always edit things. So like if you say a joke and it doesn't hit or don't say it differently, they can just stop, redo, cut and paste, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Whereas it's different in the comedy club. Wherever happens. It's there and then. There's no stop. Let's edit. There's no. If you said that shit, you said that shit. You got to own it now.
Yeah. As you said, it's your bread and butter, like.
Yeah, exactly. It's the basis. It's the core of being a comedian. Comedy clubs.
And I assume that I assume that there's no like canned laughter or anything like that, or like is there like someone there with a card like against the audience, like laugh now, like applaud now?
Not in my gigs. It would be helpful. Some of the gigs I've done. But no. There's no cue. It's all just comedian, a microphone, the audience. No, comedian does his thing, and then the audience they will let you know if you're funny
Yeah,
or not.
yeah. And,
Yeah.
and was there any point where you just went, like, you're saying with the comedy club and that, and of course you're working then with comedians that are, let's say when you're starting out, you're probably working with comedians that are starting out as well. Was there any point where you got to work with people, whether that be on like Live at the Apollo, Mock the Week, that you were like, geez, I've made it here? Was there any time where you like looked over, you're like, geez, that's such and such a fella? Or...
Um, I would say, okay. There's been a few. I guess the first time is it wasn't because there was anyone famous. It's just because I started so young, and I didn't feel like I belonged yet because I thought I'm just a kid. The first time I thought that was I did a new act competition. I was in the semi-finals. It was in my semi-final. I think there was about 10 comedians, so me and 9 others. I was the youngest there by far. I was only about 19 at the time, maybe more 20. Everyone else is like 30 and up.
Yeah.
And I thought, nah, they're not going to listen to me. I'm just a kid. What am I going to say that's going to relate to them? And I did my thing, and I won my semi-final, and I got through to the final. And then so I was like, oh, okay, so maybe I do belong in this comedy game.
Yeah.
Until then, I just thought, I'm just a hobby, just a just a little kid blagging it and chanting it, seeing what's going to happen. But I got through to the final, and I was like, oh, okay, cool. Other times when I thought I made it was well, not made it, but when I felt like, okay, I'm sorry. Sorry, my bad.
I've been at that myself
COVID,
all day.
It's not COVID.
No. We'll edit that bit out.
Yeah. Other times when I felt like not made it, but I feel like, yeah, I'm on the right track here.
Yeah.
Probably the first time I did Live at the Apollo.
Okay.
Because when you're a comedian starting up, like, well, when I started, Live at the Apollo was the show. Like, if you got on that show, it was like, okay,
yeah,
you're doing something, to turn around and say, yeah, I've been on Live at the Apollo. Because I grew up and all the big names were on Live at the Apollo. You were on Live at the Apollo, you became a big name.
Yeah.
So when I first did it, I was like, to get it firstly was like cool. But then when I did it on the night, they put me to close the show. I thought I'd be opening because the actual as well. They were, I would say, more experienced and higher up on the comedy ladder. So I thought, oh, okay, I'm going to be opening, but they put me to close. And the fact that they had that trust in me, I was like, oh, okay, cool. All right, I'm doing all right here. Like I could look at my mom and say, yo, mom, yeah. Remember those years when you thought I was gonna make it? I was gonna be shit. Look at me now.
yeah, exactly. So like who?
So yeah,
Yeah, go on.
I was saying, but that would be that would be the one time when I felt like, not that I made it, but that I was doing something right. Because I remember after my mum, my brother, and my girlfriend came down to watch me when I did the Apollo, and afterwards we were in the green room hanging out. And my brother, who's very laid back, he doesn't really let out emotion or anything. He was like, "Yo, bro, that was funny." I was like, and for him to say that, normally he'd just be like, "Yeah, it's cool," but for him to be like, "No, that was funny," I was like, "All right, I've done something well. Yeah, cool."
Yeah, because that's just it. Because people think someone who maybe you didn't know giving you a compliment, you're like, geez, that's it's nice to hear a compliment for them. But then someone that you've been living with and growing up with your whole life, for them to give you a compliment means a lot more.
Yeah, exactly. It's like I finally broke him. I got you now.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So who was on that first show at the Apollo that you did?
Oh man. Okay. The first time the Apollo, Sarah Pascoe. I thought she was gonna headline. Sarah Pascoe. John Richardson hosted the episode I did,
Brilliant.
and then they filmed another episode that night as well, and it was oh man, I think it was Jason Manford, Doc Brown, and one other. I can't remember who else it was, but yeah, I didn't expect to be like closing the night, and they let me close it, and they put their trust in me, which I'll be forever grateful for, because they didn't have to do that, but the fact that they thought I could do it, I was like, all right, cool.
And do you find there's a bit of an added pressure in comparison? I know like the crowd size are different in comparison, like from Live the Apollo to the comedy clubs, but do you feel a bit more pressure with camera, or is it just something else that's in the background?
I mean, in reality, it's just another gig, but it's not, because for me, it's like it's Live the Apollo. You know,
Yeah.
I've grown up watching this show. This is probably like the biggest show for a comedian in the UK.
Yeah.
So for me, I personally did feel like added pressure, and also because like for like the month leading up to that recording, I was practicing and honing my set, doing my 20 minutes, the same 20 minutes over and over and over, make sure I got it every single laugh pinch perfect.
Yeah.
So I kind of put that pressure on myself. And also my agent was whispering in my ear, make sure you do well, yeah. It's just like her way of saying, don't fuck this up, yeah. Yeah, so I kind of put the pressure on myself, and yeah, it's just you get there and you see the camera and then thousands of people in the Apollo, and it's like, oh, okay, all right, mate, no turning back now. You got to do it.
Yeah.
You got to do it.
It's daft. Was there ever a stage? I know I'm just firing questions at you now, but was there ever a stage where you'd hear some comedians saying where it might go awkward on stage, or you tell a joke and the audience don't get it, or you forget like the punchline for a joke? Did it ever happen to you where you like got a joke wrong or something like that?
There's definitely been times when I've like tried out stuff and it hasn't worked.
Yeah.
But I mean, every comedian has that. I mean, it's part of the game, really. Trying out new material, seeing how what works. You know, you have to fail in order to succeed.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
When you're trying out stuff. In terms of not forgetting material, have I even not forgot material? I mean, there's been times when maybe I've got distracted and gone off on tangents. Actually, no, there has been times when I forgot material, but luckily for me, it was at the point of my career where I've got enough material now so that if I forget something, I can quickly just go on to something else and find something else to talk about. Whereas if it happened in my younger days, I would have just like been like, oh, what do I talk about now? Whereas now I'll be like, yeah, okay, fine. That didn't work, or I forgot whatever it was. Then yeah, I'll just go on and talk about something else and just kind of make it seem like it's a seamless transition.
Is there any go-to ones though, like that you have that you know just there? That's the icebreaker. That's the one that's going to get them to start laughing.
See, my material changes a lot because I tend to write quite a bit to keep up with the times and stuff, right? I don't know. I mean, at the moment, if I had some go-to material, which I know is a safe banker, it will probably be stuff about living with my girlfriend, because that's happened in the last 6 months or so. So if I was to start bitching and complaining about what it's like to live with my girlfriend, and that normally that gets people on board, because it's something it's universal, it's relatable. Everyone in a relationship or been in a relationship, you know, and they get it. Yeah. So it's something that kind of like brings in everyone. And then once I got everyone on board, then I can go off and start to talk about other things that I want to talk about, which other people might not want to hear. But it's like, well, you're on board now, so buckle up.
Yeah, exactly. The thing with comedy as well, we've seen it with a lot of TV shows, TV series, sitcoms and stuff, whether they be in Ireland or England or America, whatever. There's a lot of episodes, and even there's petitions to get full shows cancelled due to certain, you know, character portrayals and episode dialogue, stuff like that. What's your take on all that? Because I know there's some comedians that are kind of like,
I'm not changing my material because it's got me to where I am. Like, what's your take on it? Do you feel like comedy has to change?
I think most people have the common sense to read a room. You know what I mean? That's one of our things that we have to do. We have to be able to read the room, to know. I mean, obviously, it's our job to kind of push boundaries, but you should be able to judge it and work out whether those boundaries are there to be pushed at that particular time. Obviously, as things evolve, there are distinct things that you have to be more careful about saying if you are going to say it. I mean, I think you could talk about anything, but it has to be funny enough.
Yeah.
And I said, you have to be able to, if you can judge the room and know that they'll go for it and they're on board, then fine. But I mean, you get some comedians who they'll say something outlandish and crazy, and there's no joke. It's like you're just going for the shock value as opposed to being funny. That's what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to be a comedian, just be funny.
Yeah. And it's actually something that we discussed a few weeks ago on the podcast. It's that less than 0.5% of people that will they may not even find that they're offended, but they will find something that they can pick at that is offensive. And
do
you know what I mean? Because I know, like, I think there's the episode of Faulty Towers about the Germans. Like, that is
the one that got taken off.
Yeah, and then even with Father Ted in over here, like, there's one where I think it's an episode about the Chinese. There's like a Chinese. It's like this, Father Ted. It's a small island off the coast of Ireland, but there's a Chinese community on the island, even though there's like 100 people on the island, and it's an episode that some people are trying to get it banned off the telly because they think that they're taking the mick out of the Chinese community, whereas in fact they don't realize that they're taking the mick out of racists and not the Chinese community. If you get what I mean. But like it's as we were saying, it's that less than that 0.5% that will voice their opinion and I suppose in a controversial sense get things banned off telly when if you don't like a joke, if you don't like watching something on telly, don't watch it, don't listen to it.
We do live in a culture at the moment where people are. It's like it's a very small minority of people, but they still enough where they almost want to be offended. They want to find something to be offended by. Yeah. And it's like, come on, guys, just read between the lines, man. Just close your mouth, open your ears, and let it swirl around. Yeah. And then come to a conclusion if you're offended or not. I think, like, I've had actually been a comedian where I had jokes which it's got a trigger word and it sets them off. And it's like, no, listen to what I'm saying. Listen to the joke.
Yeah.
Like I had a joke about because this whole thing about whether James Bond should be black with Idris Elba and stuff.
Yeah.
My joke was like making James Bond Polish, right? And the joke I make, it's not being xenophobic or having to go at Polish people. If anything, it compliments Polish people because they're known for being hard workers and having a strong work ethic, which I praise them for. Yeah. But because I'm a non-Polish person saying the word Polish, I've done that joke and I've had someone go, all right, racist. Why is it racist? Yeah. I'm not like discriminating or like putting down Polish people. But yeah, it happens a lot where, people, it's like they want to get offended with it. They're offended, but don't really know why, or can't explain why. They just heard something which should set them off. Like,
as you said, jump to conclusions.
Yeah, just listen to the whole joke, okay? Play it back in your head, work out what I'm saying, and then we'll talk.
Exactly. Yeah. I suppose, like, to move on to, in terms of your own stand-up again, like hecklers. I think there can be some funny heckles, and we will get onto that in a minute. But just to, I suppose, go on to the side of, what's the word I'm trying to use? Can't even think of it in my own head now. Just like abuse and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Is it common for people to, whether they come up to you after a gig, come up to you in the street, come up to you or shouted out from the audience, is it common for hecklers to not be funny, but to be very rude and offensive? Like,
it's not common, but it has what's happened to me.
was it?
Yeah, well, I mean, you get bellends and alcohol is not a good mix.
Yeah.
Where the in their head they think they've been funny, but then to the rest of everyone else in the room, they're like, no, you're just an idiot, mate. Yeah, I've had that. I remember I did a gig. I think it was in Norfolk, where okay, so it was around the time when Barack Obama was he was running for president for the first time for 2008. Yeah,
8 or 9. Yeah.
So anyway, I go on stage, right? I was wearing a black t-shirt and the backdrop just happened to be black. Right?
Okay.
I walk on stage and before I say anything, someone who trying to be funny just shouts out, "Can't see ya!" It's like, oh, okay, it's one of these gigs, is it? All right, man.
Yeah.
And then at the time, I used to have braids as well. So and then someone else has shouted out, "Didier Drogba!" It's like, mate, I look nothing like him. You've just seen a tall black guy with fairly long hair and associated it with the first big black guy with long hair that you thought of in your stupid head. Yeah, and then I remember there was another comedian, a black comedian on after me, and he was talking about Obama. And he's like, yeah, we could have the first black president. And someone's going, oh, for fuck's sake, fuck off. It's like, oh, man, listen, if you're going to heckle, at least just make it witty or funny, mate. Don't just like bring out your own dark thoughts in your head.
Yeah.
Like, I don't mind heckles, but if listen, just make it funny, make it witty, something I can work with, right? Because then otherwise you just look like an idiot, and you're gonna embarrass yourself, and then the comedian will embarrass you even more. So just be careful.
Definitely. Were there ever any heckles that stand out in your mind as being as kind of working into a joke? You know, you threw something back at them or something, and then made the audience go daft. Because like you'd see it all over, whether it be Facebook or Instagram, or whatever. Like there's just compilations of Jimmy Carr doing it to people the whole time.
Yeah. No, I'm quite fortunate. I haven't had like a lot of heckles. And if they are, then it's nothing like malicious. So it's something friendly.
Yeah.
You know, like I remember I think one of the first gigs I did after I'd cut my hair, and I walked out on stage, and this old man just he went, "You look beautiful, young man." I was like, that's the kind of thing I have. I don't get malicious heckles. I'll just get friendly fire. Actually, I tell you the weirdest heckle I've had. Well, it said it wasn't a heckle, but it felt like a heckle. Someone vomited as soon as I walked on stage.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's brutal. Yeah, I walked out on stage. Well, she said she had a dodgy meal before coming to the gig. But either way, it just felt like she saw my face and just vomited.
Was this backstage or someone sat in the seat or?
No, I was on stage. She's in the audience. She's
maybe
like the third or fourth row, and I said my opening joke or an opening line, and heard, and I thought maybe she was like laughing. I was like, all right, it's not that funny. Just if you think that was funny, this hour is going to be hilarious for you. And it turns out she vomited because I saw people in the rows in front of her start getting up and stuff. And I'm like, what are you doing? I've just come on, the show's not finished yet.
Yeah.
Someone's thrown up. And yeah, so they have to stop the show because this person had thrown up and it had gone onto people's coats, and someone had it in their handbag. But yeah, that's probably the most brutal heckle I've had. Someone vomiting at the sight of my face.
Christ above. Is it the dream job?
For me, yeah, because most of the time I don't have to wake up early in the morning. And lying. Now, you know what? It really is. Being in lockdown has really made me. I mean, I appreciated it before, but I really appreciate it now.
Yeah.
The fact that I travel around, not just the UK, the world now. I get to do gigs overseas, and I just kind of just tell jokes. I chat shit. I make my life into like some sort of like interesting story, chat breeze, and I get paid for it. and not only do I get paid for it, but I make a living out of it. I pay my bills. It really is great. To be able to just do that and have an impact on people's lives in a positive way.
Yeah.
Like I've done gigs where people are like come afterwards and I was having a really bad day, but you really cheered me up. Thank you. And that's my job. It's like that's quality, man. To just chat shit, have a laugh, and make people feel good, and get paid for it.
Exactly.
I can't really complain about that. I mean, I did a gig yesterday, last night via Zoom, and then I got a message from someone saying how they were having a really tough time given everything that's going on, but they needed that that laughter. I was like, yeah, laughter really is the best medicine, man.
Oh, 100%, yeah. So the lockdown, it's like the lockdown's been tough for everybody at some stage. It kind of hits everyone at some stage, like, what in the name of God am I going to do for the rest of this month, whether it's for a month, 2 months. It could be 3 days left and you're like, Jesus Christ, I'm not going to make this at all. But I think everyone's found a bit of a benefit from it in some way. Like for me, starting up this podcast was the best thing that's come out of it, definitely. And I wouldn't have got, like, I've been able to talk to people like yourself, people like I had Ned and Manu on last week.
Okay,
and
cool.
I was like, I had never thought that would happen. It was just literally Instagram DMs. I'd say I sent about 300 DMs out to anyone, literally everybody. And like, some of them might get them a month later, some of them mightn't get them at all. But it's cool to be able to meet people. And I think that's what the lockdown has done for me. But in terms of for yourself, has it given you time to try out new material, or write new material, think of things, stuff like that?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'll write material anyway. But yes, it's given me more time to do writing. I wrote a poem which I've turned into comedy material, which I definitely wouldn't have done if I went in lockdown.
Yeah.
I was in lockdown with my girlfriend, and it inspired me to write a comedy poem, which I've been doing in my sets, and it's been working so far. So that's a good thing. And then doing more stuff on social media, which I definitely would not have the time for, but now I've got the time, so I'm focusing on that. I'm doing stuff on Twitter and Instagram, Facebook and stuff, just popping stuff on YouTube every now and again, and like doing podcasts, like doing your podcast now and other things. It's showing me that even though I miss the comedy clubs, and I will never want to turn my back on comedy clubs, but there are other outlets.
Yeah, definitely.
I just locked down. I was thinking, well, how am I going to do it, man? How? But obviously, social media has been a great platform, to kind of get bits out there and stuff. Just to let people know that I'm still around. Or people who haven't seen or heard me before. But, who's this guy? So it's definitely given me a chance to do things that I wouldn't have done if I weren't in lockdown.
And your football quiz show, that's so that what is that? That's a weekly bit of a
But it was Monday, Thursday, and Saturdays before football came back. But now that football's come back, obviously people are busy watching football, like myself. So every Sunday now at 9 p.m. On my Instagram live, where I just do a football quiz. Like quick fire trivia questions. How many correct answers can you get in 60 seconds? And that's something else that before lockdown, I would have wanted to do it, but I wouldn't have done it because I would have been too busy.
Yeah.
And I've got the time now, and because I'm a big football fan, I know there are lots of other football fans who are like me, who are sitting there just wanting something to do with football.
Exactly.
Let's do this quiz, and it's been going well, man. I got some proper football geeks who are like me. They love it. Every Sunday they're there, and they're ready, to test their football knowledge. It's like, this is cool, man.
Exactly. Myself and my brother were actually going through them yesterday. I'm 20, my brother's 15 this year, and we were just going through because you have them up on the Instagram live. We were going through them yesterday, just competing with each other to see who get the most answers right. And there's some tough ones in it now. Like there's some that if they're about your club, you're like, yeah, I know that one easy. But then, there'll be ones that you're like, geez, yeah, I did well to get that.
Some obscure ones there, man.
Yeah, I read that in the Match of the Day magazine 10 years ago or something. It just sticks in your head.